Join us as we venture into the unforgiving outdoors where the line between awe and danger blurs. Captured by Alaska's icy grip, mauled by powerful predators, or stranded in desolation, these people all found their untimely end during outdoors adventures. On July 3, 2018, 31-year-old Aaron Gibbons set off for a trip that would forever change his family and community. A skilled hunter and dedicated father, Aaron embodied the deep-rooted traditions of Arviat, Nunavut, a remote Inuit community in Canada's north. Arviat's people have long coexisted with some of nature's most formidable creatures, including polar bears, yet nothing could have prepared them for what was to come that day. Aaron's life in Arviat was deeply connected to his culture and the natural world around him. Though he worked at a gold mine in the Arctic, he remained firmly tied to his hometown, supporting his community through his skill in hunting and gathering. The trip to Sentry Island that summer day was a chance for Aaron to pass on these traditions to his children. He had taken them there to collect Arctic tern eggs, a local delicacy, teaching his young ones the age-old skills of gathering food and respecting their environment. Sentry Island, a rugged Arctic outpost known for its sandy beaches and abundance of wildlife, was a popular local spot for hunting and fishing. For Aaron and his children, it offered not just food, but also an opportunity to enjoy a peaceful day together under the northern sun. As the afternoon progressed, Aaron watched his kids play and search for eggs. But as evening approached, a distant movement caught his eye, a glimpse of something large and pale blending into the tundra, a polar bear. In an instant, what had been a normal family trip turned into a desperate struggle for survival. The bear, one of the Arctic's most fearsome predators, was heading straight for Aaron's children. Without hesitation, the man sprang into action. He urged his kids to run to the boat while he placed himself between them and the bear, signaling with his actions that he would do whatever it took to keep them safe. The children obeyed, racing toward safety even as the sounds of their father's struggle echoed behind them. Aaron faced the bear alone, giving his life so his children could escape. Despite his efforts, the bear overpowered him, delivering a devastating loss to his family and community. In the aftermath, nearby people on the island heard the children's cries for help and quickly responded, ultimately killing the bear and securing the children's safe return. Aaron's body, however, was badly mauled and covered in bites, and the loss left those who knew him in profound grief. In Arviat, the shock was palpable. Aaron was revered as a hero who had made the ultimate sacrifice. His death also intensified a conversation in the region about the increasing proximity of polar bears to human settlements. For years, members of the community had noticed that polar bears were growing less fearful of humans, venturing closer to Arviat and other towns on the Hudson Bay coast. Many residents blamed tourism activities from nearby Churchill, where polar bear walking tours were a popular attraction, for desensitizing bears to humans. Aaron's uncle, Gordy Kidlepik, a respected local elder and director of Arviat's Hunters and Trappers Association, spoke out publicly about the issue, drawing attention to the potential dangers of close human-bear interactions. He argued that activities catering to tourists could inadvertently contribute to bear encounters in their communities. In 2020, Aaron Gibbons' bravery was formally recognized when he was posthumously awarded Canada's Star of Courage, an honor reserved for those who have shown remarkable courage in the face of grave danger. His story resonated across Canada, a testament to the love a father had for his children and the lengths he went to protect them. In May 1996, a young couple's peaceful hiking trip in Virginia's Shenandoah National Park turned into a nightmare, ending in a tragedy that would haunt the area for decades. Julie Williams, 24, and her partner Laura Lolly Winans, 26, were experienced nature enthusiasts who had come to the park for a celebratory retreat. Julie was preparing to begin a new job at Lake Champlain in Vermont, set to start on June 1st. Instead, that day marked the end of a search that uncovered their shocking fate. Julie and Lolly entered Shenandoah on May 19, 1996, eager to explore the park's beauty. Accompanied by their golden retriever, Taj, the couple began on the White Oak Canyon Trail, though rain soon forced them to alter their route. They registered for additional permits and were last seen on May 24th by a park ranger who had given them a ride. Their final campsite lay near a secluded area by a stream just off the Appalachian Trail, and a short distance from the bustling Skyland Lodge. For many, camping in such proximity to a populated area might have seemed reassuring, but Julie and Lolly, seasoned outdoor adventurers, were cautious and kept a respectful distance from public trails and fire roads. Both women had a deep love for the wilderness where they felt at home. Lolly, studying to become a wilderness guide, had a passion for helping others connect with nature, and Julie, aspiring to be a geologist, shared that passion. They had met through a nonprofit that organized outdoor expeditions for women, bonding over their love of adventure and the peace they found in natural settings. Their lives were filled with a sense of purpose, and their time in Shenandoah was meant to be a celebration of both their personal and professional achievements. On May 31st, Julie's father, Thomas Williams, grew concerned when his daughter hadn't made contact about her upcoming job. He reported her missing, triggering a search by park rangers. They soon located Julie and Lolly's car near Skyland Lodge, close to where they were last seen. Taj, their dog, was found wandering alone nearby, a harrowing sign that suggested something had gone terribly wrong. On June 1st, the day Julie was supposed to start her new job, the search team found their campsite and with it a gruesome scene. Julie and Lolly's bodies were discovered close together, bound and gagged. It was obvious that the two women had suffered terribly in their last hours. The brutality of the crime stunned even seasoned investigators. The isolated campsite and lack of significant evidence left little to go on, making it immediately clear that this was going to be a challenging investigation. The National Park Service and FBI quickly joined forces, launching a wide-reaching investigation. They traced the women's last days using their camera, which revealed images capturing the joy of their adventure until May 24th, the last day they were seen. Investigators meticulously processed the crime scene and conducted a vast search for leads. The investigation eventually led them to a man named Darrell David Rice, who had previously exhibited aggressive tendencies toward women. Rice's behavior in the park and comments about Julie and Lolly's romantic orientation seemed incriminating. Videotapes placed him in Shenandoah on May 25th, and investigators found hand and leg restraints in his vehicle. Prosecutors felt they had enough circumstantial evidence to pursue charges against him. However, the case fell apart in 2003 when DNA evidence from the crime scene didn't match Rice or either of the victims. With this discovery, the charges against him were dismissed, leaving the case unresolved. The families of Julie and Lolly, along with their close-knit communities, were devastated, left to grapple with a loss compounded by the uncertainties surrounding the case. For nearly 3 decades, the double homicide remained unsolved. But in 2024, advancements in DNA technology led to a breakthrough. New testing identified Walter Leo Jackson as the perpetrator. Jackson, who had died in prison in 2018, was a convicted serial molester with a history of brutal attacks, a fact that added another tragic layer to the story. Although the discovery brought a measure of closure, it was a bittersweet revelation for the families who had waited so long for justice. It was July 2024, and 19-year-old Maria Diana was hiking with her boyfriend in the Carpathian Mountains, Romania. The young woman had just graduated from high school and wanted to spend a few days relaxing in the middle of nature. She'd gone hiking in the mountains before, but nothing could have prepared her for the terrifying encounter that would tragically end her life. At 19 years old, Maria Diana from Bucharest, Romania, had just graduated from high school and finished her final exams. The young woman had recently gone hiking in the Carpathian Mountains and had decided she wanted to do it again. That July day, Maria and her boyfriend were exploring the scenic Yepai Michi Trail, a well-known but difficult and challenging path near the city of Brasov. They wanted to reach the Spumoasa waterfall, known for its beautiful views. Not everyone was as excited about the hike as Maria Diana was. Her mother, who was pregnant at the time, tried to persuade the girl not to go. The older woman warned Maria of the dangers, but Maria was adamant about the hike. She told her mother nothing bad would happen to her, then proceeded with the hike. But her anticipation of a peaceful hike, however, was shattered when Maria and her boyfriend encountered an aggressive brown bear on the trail. The attack happened suddenly and with terrifying force. The bear first spotted Maria and her boyfriend, and then charged toward them. As the animal neared, they both desperately attempted to call for help. Maria managed to get through to emergency services, and her boyfriend also made a call, informing dispatchers of the bear's aggressive behavior and their location. In her frantic phone call, Maria cried out, describing how the bear was getting closer, her fear evident in every word. Emergency operators could hear her scream and could only listen as the horrific encounter played out. The bear seized Maria by her leg, dragging her from the trail and into the nearby vegetation, before forcefully throwing her down a steep 400-foot cliff. Tragically, the injuries Maria sustained were described by rescuers as incompatible with life. She was covered in teeth and claw marks. When the rescue team from Salvamont Prahova arrived, the bear was still in the area, circling Maria's body and posing a serious threat to anyone nearby. The bear had to be shot after it attempted to attack the rescuers, who then carefully worked to retrieve Maria's body from the rugged terrain below. It was a harrowing operation that underscored the seriousness of the incident and highlighted the dangers of Romania's remote mountain regions. The head of the rescue team, Dan Banu, expressed the horror of the situation, stating that such a harrowing attack was unlike anything he had seen in over a decade. Maria's boyfriend, who witnessed the attack but was unharmed, later shared how he tried to scare the bear away, but the animal's aggression was relentless. He struggled with guilt and regret, reportedly telling the media he wished he could have done more, or that it had been him instead of Maria. This tragedy has sparked a national debate on Romania's approach to wildlife management, particularly concerning its large bear population. Romania is home to the largest brown bear population in Europe outside Russia, with an estimated 8,000 bears inhabiting its forests and mountains. Local authorities pointed out that this kind of attack was uncharacteristic, with experts speculating that disease or other environmental factors could have contributed to the bear's behavior. The incident has prompted Romanian officials to address the risks posed by the country's bear population, leading to the approval of a controversial culling measure. Lawmakers sanctioned the culling of nearly 500 bears this year, citing concerns about overpopulation and public safety. Environmental groups, however, argue that culling is a reactive and insufficient measure that fails to address the root causes of human-wildlife conflict. They stress the importance of habitat protection, controlled ecotourism, and better trail warnings in bear-dense areas as alternatives. Maria Diana's tragic death serves as a solemn reminder of the risks associated with exploring wild terrain. In April 2002, Caroline Studle, a bright and compassionate 19-year-old from York, England, was approaching the end of her gap-year journey through Australia. Traveling with her friend Sarah Holliday, Caroline had already explored some of Australia's famous landmarks and had arrived in the small town of Bundaberg, Queensland, one of their last destinations before going back home to their families. But Caroline would never get to see her family again. Like thousands of young travelers each year, Caroline had saved eagerly, working at a Pizza Hut and making plans for an unforgettable trip before starting her studies in criminal psychology. She was looking forward to the next chapter of her life and to making an impact by helping others. In April 2002, Caroline's trip was coming to an end. On the night of April 10th, Caroline stepped out alone, heading toward a payphone to speak with her boyfriend back in England. As she was returning to her caravan, her path crossed that of 32-year-old Ian Previte, a local drifter and substance addict. Struggling with his addiction and intoxicated on a mixture of illicit substances, Previte's night took a darker turn as he sought to steal whatever he could to fund his habit. Caroline was nearly back to her accommodation when Previte approached her. In his attempt to grab her handbag, Previte attacked her, and a desperate struggle ensued. Caroline clung to her bag, resisting her attacker's grip, but Previte's determination turned aggressive. As they fought, he pushed Caroline over the bridge railing and into the darkness below. She fell more than 32 feet to the ground below, a drop that left her fatally injured. When police arrived, her body lay beneath the bridge, her belongings stolen for the trivial amount of $1.80, a meaningless sum in exchange for a precious life. News of Caroline's killing quickly spread, sending shockwaves through her family and the small community in York. For them, the devastating loss was incomprehensible. The journey she had taken with such hope had ended in tragedy. But despite media coverage and police efforts, leads in the case grew cold, and Previte went unconnected to the crime. Months later, a breakthrough came when Previte, serving time for an unrelated offense, reportedly confessed to Caroline's killing. Investigators found that the confession was more than a rumor when they discovered the words, "I throw the girl of the bridge, I am sorry," scrawled on a bench near the hostel where Previte had stayed. The shocking admission gave authorities the lead they needed to finally bring charges against him. In 2004, Previte stood trial for Caroline's killing. The evidence left little doubt, and the jury's verdict was clear. Justice Peter Dutney handed down a life sentence, condemning Previte's actions and the brutal impact they had on an innocent young life. Caroline's family watched as the verdict was delivered, knowing that no sentence would fully heal their wounds, but feeling some relief that justice had been served. Caroline's legacy endures not only in the memories of her family and friends, but also through Caroline's Rainbow Foundation, a charity her family established in her memory. The foundation is devoted to educating young travelers on safety precautions and helping them prepare for international journeys with greater awareness. Her brother, Richard Stuttle, has carried forward the foundation's work with deep commitment, honoring his sister's adventurous spirit and kind nature. For Richard and the rest of Caroline's family, Previte's release from prison in 2020 marked a painful chapter, reopening the deep wounds her loss had inflicted. Richard remarked on the toll her death continues to take, reflecting that while Previte's life sentence had ended, theirs would last forever. In March 1981, Carl McCunn, a 35-year-old wildlife photographer, embarked on what he thought would be a solitary expedition of discovery in the heart of Alaska's Brooks Range. He came to this remote wilderness with a vision of capturing the untamed beauty of the land and its wildlife, but a series of oversights left him stranded, helpless, and ultimately alone. McCunn, originally from Texas, was an avid adventurer who had already spent 5 months alone in the Brooks Range in 1976. In March 1981, he set out with the same confidence, perhaps bolstered by his previous experience. Carrying 500 rolls of film, nearly 1,400 pounds of provisions, and several firearms, he planned to spend the summer documenting the region's wildlife as they migrated back to their seasonal grounds. But he also carried a critical misjudgment, believing he had arranged for a friend to retrieve him by the end of summer. In his preparations, McCunn overlooked confirming his return transport. He had paid a pilot friend for repairs to a plane, but had only confirmed his flight in, not out of the wilderness. As the weeks turned into months, McCunn recorded his journey with meticulous detail, starting with descriptions of the vibrant wildlife that roamed nearby. He wrote with wonder, admiring how life in the wild unfolded around him. By August, though, his tone began to shift. His diary entries revealed a creeping awareness that he might be left behind. "I think I should have used more foresight about arranging my departure," he noted, showing a dawning realization that his plans might have gone terribly wrong. The situation grew dire as the expected plane never arrived, and summer slipped away. With dwindling supplies and colder nights, McCunn's focus turned to survival. He attempted to prolong his food stores by hunting ducks and muskrats, and even dried the meat of a caribou that had died in a nearby lake. In an effort to keep calm, he expressed hope that friends or family would grow concerned and send help. However, his isolation was compounded by a fateful misunderstanding. An Alaska state trooper spotted his camp in late August and circled it, but McCunn's casual wave with an orange sleeping bag gave the impression that he was not in distress. Later, he would come to recognize the signal he'd given was a sign for "all okay, do not wait," realizing too late that he had inadvertently waved away his only hope of rescue. By early fall, McCunn's diary reflected the shift from optimism to desperation. He continued trying to hunt, but game became scarce, and he now competed with wolves and foxes that stole the small rabbits he managed to snare. The cold intensified, and with frostbite setting in, McCunn struggled to maintain even the most basic tasks. The isolation, hunger, and brutal conditions began to break him. Still, he clung to hope, writing that he won't give up, even as he recorded days where his energy waned and provisions dwindled. As temperatures plummeted, McCunn found himself physically and mentally exhausted. He scribbled more desperately, his script devolving as he fought both hunger and the unrelenting cold. In November, with nothing left to eat and his body weakened, he abandoned any thought of making the 75-mile trek to Fort Yukon. His writing reflected despair. He was haunted by the possibility of being forgotten, and he began to contemplate an end to his suffering. The final pages of McCunn's diary reflect a man at the edge of hope. Near Thanksgiving, he described relentless chills and dizzy spells, feeling that his strength was slipping away. He used the last of his fuel to light a small fire, writing a farewell message in his diary. He left instructions for the development of his film and requested that whoever found him give his personal belongings to his father. His Alaska driver's license was pinned to the final note, where he humbly asked for forgiveness and wrote a prayer to his family. Then he took his own life. On February 2, 1982, after a months-long search effort spurred by concerned friends, Alaska State Troopers arrived at McCunn's camp. They found his tent covered in snow, unzipping it to reveal his emaciated, frozen body. His diary, over 100 pages long, documented his gradual decline from an enthusiastic observer of the wilderness to a man gripped by despair and fatigue. The coroner's inquest later ruled that McCunn had taken his own life in those desolate surroundings, far from the safety of civilization.